Hello and welcome to this video. What we're going to learn about now is termed as slicing, okay? And like I mentioned from about 2 or 3 videos ago, I said slicing is going to help you to get a sub list out of your list. So the way we achieve slicing is instead of specifying a single index to access a single item, we specify a range of indices, and all the elements of the list within that range is going to be returned to us as a list. I'm going to use an example so that you understand this very well. And so I'm going to copy the menu list that we had from the previous video, and I'm going to bring it here. I'm working in a file called listslicing.py. So let's say, yes, indeed, we have a variable menu that stores the names of food that we have on our menu. And then we want to slice or get a sub list out of it. Well, what happens if I want to get the food names starting from, let's say, pizza to noodles? Okay, I want another list, let's say sub menu, that contains just pizza to noodles. So everything here: pizza, batura, chicken sabji, and noodles. Well, the way we specify a range for slicing is I'm going to create a variable called sub menu. So sub menu is going to be equal to, we have our square brackets, all right, and then we need to provide the start index. Okay, so the start index, and then you bring a colon and then the end index. Okay, this is how we do it. Now there is a catch. The slicing technique will start selecting the item at the start index, but it will end at one less than the end index. So if I specify the end index to be 4, it is going to select up to 3, because 1 less than 4 is 3. So you need to have this in mind so that you know how to come up with your end index. And I'll do that mistake in this video, so we correct it, then you will know what I meant. All right, so we want to select everything from pizza to noodles, right? So sushi is 0, pizza is 1, remember. 2, 3, and then 4. Noodles is 4. So I specify that I want everything from menu. Sorry, I have to bring the list that we are slicing from. Okay, so I say menu, and I'm starting from 1 because 1 is where we have pizza. 2, 3, and 4. 4 is where we have noodles. So I'm going to bring 4 here, and then we will print the sub menu. First of all, let's print the type of sub menu to confirm that indeed it is also a list. So that means everything you know about list up to this point and everything you know about list from this point onwards applies to what is contained in the variable sub menu, because it's actually a list. Okay, and then I'm going to print sub menu also. All right, so let's run this program and see if we get what we expect. So I'm working in a file called listslicing.py. And wait, I said it should select from index 1 to index 4, but it doesn't appear to have included noodles, even though noodles is the food at index 4 in the menu item. So what is the problem here? Remember, I told you that it select up to 1 less than the specified end index. And so what you have to do is to add +1 to it so that it will include where you actually want to end. This is very important. It can be the cause of several subtle bugs in your program, which are very hard to catch if you are not careful. And so you want to keep this in your mind once and for all, that the start index is indeed where the slicing begins, but the end index doesn't include, so it is an open-ended range. So it includes the start range, but it doesn't include the end range. It is 1 less than that, so you have to add 1. So for me to be able to include noodles, I need to pretend as if I'm selecting up to banku. Okay, so I'm going to make it 5, even though banku is at 5, but because it selects 1 less than that, it will end at 4. Okay, So I'm going to come here, I'll run this, and you can see that indeed now we have pizza, batura, chicken, and then noodles is also in there. Okay, so this is one way of doing your selection. I'm going to comment this out and then I'll show you another way. So what if I want to start from index 0 and end somewhere? Well, then I can say submenu is equal to, I'll say menu, and then I will not specify the start, but I'll specify the end. So if I omit the start index, then Python knows that I want to start the sub selection from the start of the list. And then the end index is still going to be one less than what I specify. So if I want to select from sushi to noodles, why don't you pause here and try it yourself as an exercise before you play to see my solution. Okay, so I'm going to show the solution now. I want to select from sushi to noodles. Sushi is at index 0, and we have learned that if we omit the start index, it is going to assume that we want to start selecting from 0, so that's fine. Now, how do we get noodles? Noodles is at index 4, but one less than that, and so I have to specify index 5. And now we can print submenu over here, and then we should be able to see from sushi to noodles, and indeed it is so, right? Okay, so the same way we can omit the start index, we can also omit the end index. And when we omit the end index, Python is going to assume that we want to start selecting from the start index. Remember, the start index is inclusive, so it is going to start from the start index exactly all the way to the end. Okay, so what if I want to select from batura to bangkun? Well, batura is at index 0, 1, 2. Okay, so the way I do that, let me also comment out this. In fact, I'm copying and then I'll comment it out to save myself some typing. And then I'm going to start the selection process from index 2, and I'll remove the end index because I want to select all the way to there. So it's going to be batura all the way to the end. Let's run this program and see if it does what we expect. And indeed it is so. It starts selecting from batura to bangkun because we started from index 2, and that is where indeed it is going to start. And because we omitted the end, it is going to end it when the end of the list has been reached. So you can omit either the start index or the end index, and what you want to keep in mind is the selection of one less than the other. Okay, so let's take a quick break here, and in the next video I will show you how to do slicing with negative indexes.